from a Don Juan's perspective, their life lived among tyrants of all sizes. Yes, yes. A Moreness life, yes, lived there. The application of Juanist ideology must be possible in any situations. Absolutely. That's way of impeccability. Yes. This is,
Yes.
I mean, Don, I love this term Juanist philosophy, but it goes deeper than Don Juan, by the way. I mean, just to be aware. I was aware of its global universality is a better word. Its universality before encountering Don Juan. Don Juan put it in utilizable language, but the Buddhists say the same thing, right? So it's very universal. And then you get in all cultures, there are little bits here, little bits there. People just get like one section and they focus on it. Don Juan and the Buddhists have it as a completeness, at least mostly, right? And it's the language and putting it in times. Now I've taken it further to extend that language to get to say, instead of saying a Don Juanist philosophy or Toltec, as some people like to call it, which is actually a bit of an inaccuracy, or Buddhist even, to say it's Moreness culture. See, I don't want to make it something specific to something like Toltec or Don Juan or Buddhist, because now you get that connected. Moreness is its own thing. There is no origin point really. Yes, much of what I share in the greater philosophy, the philosophy of appropriateness, is stuff that I figured out, like Moreness, right? But I don't want to have it be, oh, it's a Saint Sebastianism. No, that's not important. What is important is utilizable and usable and valuable to you. That's what's important. And what's important is that it is something that inherent in the philosophy, that there are tools for evolution. That's the problem. As soon as it becomes a Don Juan or Buddhist, then you're not free to innovate and add. And that now the thing gets stuck. And it doesn't matter that it's wonderful and profound and awesome, it's stuck. Because as long as you say somebody, oh yeah, but that's not Don Juanism because Don Juan never said that. Moreness leaves means you are free to innovate and add. Yeah, Moreness culture, right? Or nobilia culture, same thing, or new nobility culture. It's open, it's alive, it grows. Way of impeccability, it's alive, it grows. Whenever we do with each participant, when they say something that extends the point being made, I add it to the program, right? It's in slide format. And you can see with the original slides, and then I add underneath it. And you can go left to right, or sometimes you can go top to bottom. Yeah. So it's got that depth to it. And I add underneath the original slide, I add the comments by the participants, or their takeaways, their repeat backs, their insight, their Moreness quotes from them, etc. This to me is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, we get most things that have become culturalized have also become traditionalized. And the moment it becomes traditionalized, it dies, sadly. Doesn't matter how wonderful it was in the past. Tradition says you can't change it. Of course, things do change, despite this understanding that when it's traditional, then it must be repeated exactly like it was. They still change, despite that. But that's a death sentence to philosophy. Practical philosophy. It needs to be alive. It needs to be ongoing. It needs to be constantly open to improvement. This is very key. I actually build this into my whole rules of sentience, which is something I'll share at some point, right? Yes, rules is oxymoronic. You can't really have rules of it. And that's part of the understanding. But we like the idea of rules of sentience, but they're alive, they change. And the idea is, and I'll be putting this up, I'll have a website, and then you've got the rules, and it's a thing, right? The rules of sentience. And there's like one for each day of the year, more or less, to start off with, right? But then I said, let's do this where it is interactive. And this is something that the idea is to do it through the United Nations. It's a long story, and I'll have to get into that. Anyway, then let's take it. If it gets to be the way I intend it to be, it will be something that's now does via the United Nations. And as such, there's a Rule of Sentience Day. And once a year on Rule of Sentience Day, there's a focus on the rules of sentience. And what this means is that there's been a build-up before that, where you can go to the Rule of Sentience website and you can vote, right? And it says to you, which is your You can rank them, like say, okay, this one I like the most, and then you can put them in order. And you also get to vote on rules that you think are yeah, that you don't think this one doesn't sort of deserve to be in there anymore. And there's replacements, right, that have been suggested by people. Anybody can suggest them, right? And then the AI puts them together and and makes them into a short list. And we say, okay, we're going to now vote on these, and we're going to vote to replace or add, right? So rule of sentience day, in essence, what I'm trying to say is about evolving these rules of sentience so they don't stay static, right? And we can say, okay, well, they're all so good, but do we want to add one? All right. So we're going to add one because you don't want to have it where you've got a million rules. So adding has to be something that's really taken into deep consideration. So are we going to replace or add? Yeah. And so this
Yes.
becomes, but now it's everybody involved, right? At least if it's something a big deal and it's on TV and it's United Nations involved in this, you're going to get millions of people voting on this. So it's become something that is representative of our entire world culture, sentience culture. Who knows? In the future, there may be other sentiences involved too, right? Very important. All right. So Joseph also says, um, uh, an example of, I think, of some of these faceless women singing in their cages, true warriorship. Yes, yes, Joseph, it's wonderful. A different experience, sorry, a different perspective of what it is to be a true spiritual warrior. Yes, yes, yes. Joseph, it's interesting. I use this term in ways